Hi everyone, Sneemaster here. CIG released the Apollo series of 2 ships in 2025, and now released a variant called the Hermes. So this video will be about all 3 ships, their differences, and what they can do. The Hermes has a few physical differences from the Apollo series, so it may not officially be a variant according to CIG, but it really is just a variant. The Apollo series are medical ships, the Triage and Medevac, both able to heal or stabilize the injured, with the Apollo Medevac variant designed with more armor and missiles for combat search and rescue, while the Hermes is an armored cargo transport. The Apollo and Hermes ships are 45 meters wide, 65 meters long, and 14 meters high. This makes them a little longer than a Constellation Andromeda and much wider, but they are shorter than the Starlancer series. All ships are designed for a crew of 2, but the Apollo ships often have medical crew on board to help with patients. The Apollo and Hermes have a combination bridge and living quarters at the front of the ship. There is a seat for the pilot on the left and co-pilot on the right. There is a large windshield that stretches from the entire front of the ship from left to right in the bridge, with excellent views to the sides and below the ship. The upper view is a little blocked, and of course views behind you are blocked. There are some struts on the sides of the windshield, but are not too intrusive for being an RSI ship, so they don't block your view too much, unless you're looking to the far sides. Each seat has a couple of MFDs connected to it for the user to use. The seats themselves rotate around for the user to sit in them. Behind the seats in the bridge are the living quarters and crew elevator. The crew elevator is small and can only comfortably hold 1 person at a time, but it has an airlock in it. There are controls outside and inside the elevator to control it, but be careful when summoning it from outside. There is a separate outer hull plate than the elevator floor, so you can accidentally get caught between them if you aren't careful. In the rest of the room, there are 2 beds, 1 for each crew member. The beds have light switches you can use to control lights around each bed. Above each bed is gear stowage of 450k micro-SCU each. Behind the starboard bed is a small kitchen for heating up food. It doesn't work yet, but like many things, hopefully we get cooking in a future patch. Behind the mini kitchen is the bathroom. It's a combination toilet, sink, and shower. It's cramped, but it's clean. On the other side of the room is the dining table. It has benches for 2 people. Next to that is the fire extinguisher. From the bridge, there is a door that leads to a small corridor. This corridor has some component access points on each side of the hallway, as well as an engineering computer. The corridor leads to the rear of the ship, which is a giant enclosed room, but that's where the ships differ. The Apollo series have this section filled with various smaller rooms, while the Hermes has it all open for cargo. In the Apollo ships on each side of this section are the medical rooms. Each medical room is modular, so you can put 3 Tier 3 beds, or 2 Tier 2 beds, or 1 Tier 1 bed in each room. There are medical computers here, as well as gear stowage for passengers. In the Tier 3 rooms, there are 3 stowage spots for 150k micro-SCU each. Each room also has a bathroom large enough to handle even patients in wheelchairs, with a toilet and sink. I did not see a shower though, which you would figure patients might want to use, but it might have been built into the ceiling above the toilet, since there are drainage holes under the toilet. I just didn't see any buttons for a shower. Behind the 2 medical rooms of the Apollo are 2 cargo rooms. These have engineering component points as well as weapon lockers and suit lockers. In each weapon locker you can place 3 size 1 pistols and 3 larger utility devices or weapons. These rooms have component access points and an engineering computer. You can also place a little cargo here, 16 SCU of cargo in each room, although only smaller size containers will fit through the airlock doors, up to size 2 containers. In the Apollo series, behind the cargo rooms is an airlock to the rear of the ship. It leads to a long ramp to the ground. As mentioned, this ramp and airlock are small, so only small containers or vehicles can fit. Only size 1 and size 2 containers can fit through the doors, or small hoverbikes. You can fit the Origin X1, the Mirai Pulse, and the Aopoa Nox hoverbikes. Anything larger will not fit. In the Hermes, the entire rear section is 1 large room. In the rear of the cargo room on each side are 2 gun racks and 2 suit lockers. They can hold the same as the Apollo ships with 3 pistols and 3 larger devices. There are also component access points back here on each wall. In front of the cargo room are large cargo plates on the floor to hold cargo down. There is 1 on each side for a total of 288 SCU, with a walkway in between, although you can unofficially fit up to 400 SCU in the areas without cargo plating. You can even fit up to 32 SCU size containers. There is also a size 2 remote tractor beam on the roof of the cargo room that can carry containers. This tractor beam is controlled by a computer in the back wall or from the co-pilot seat. The tractor beam can move from the middle of the cargo room to the rear of the ship using the S key on the keyboard. You can carry cargo with the tractor beam while it's moving, although sometimes it moves so fast you lose the beam connection. The rear door and ramp on the Hermes are larger, the same size and style as a Zeus CL, so you can fit larger cargo containers and vehicles. As mentioned, you can fit up to 32 SU containers through the door, as well as vehicles up to tumbril cyclone size. So that means all hover vehicles can fit, plus the Greycat Rock, the Drake Mule, the Argo CSV SM, the various tumbril cyclone variants, and the Mirai Fury snub ship. Sadly, larger vehicles and snub ships don't fit through the door, although they have plenty of space inside the cargo bay. This means the Ursa Rover, the Lynx, the Greycat MTC and MDC, the Greycat Rock DS, any vehicle using the Atlas chassis like the Spartan, Ballista, or Centurion, as well as the Storm and Nova tanks, do not fit. For components, the Apollo and Hermes series all have 4 size 2 shields, although in the current patch only 2 are functional at a time. They're all civilian grade C shields, so you may want to consider increasing them to grade B or A shields, maybe even industrial or military versions. Although if you want to be sneaky, then stealth shields may work better. All 3 versions have similar health pools, but the Medevac has more armor than the Triage and the Hermes has more armor than the Medevac. The Apollo and Hermes ships have 2 size 2 power plants and 2 size 2 coolers, all civilian grade C. Consider using stealth versions if you don't want to be noticed. Use higher strength power plants and coolers if you bump up the gun and shield power so they don't run out. There is also a size 2 radar, civilian grade A on all variants. This is pretty decent for detecting ships or ground targets. Useful for Apollo ships to find ships in distress, or the Hermes to detect loot or mineable targets. The ships all have 4 main engines on the 2 big nacelles, as well as 26 small thrusters for maneuvering or VTOL. The Apollo Triage and Medevac fly at 170 and 175 meters a second in SCM speed respectively, and 1025 and 1000 meters a second in nav speed respectively. The Hermes is a little faster at 180 meters a second in SCM and 1200 meters a second in nav speed. The Hermes is also the most maneuverable of the ships, with the Triage slightly less maneuverable, and then the Medevac last. All ships have a size 2 quantum drive and size 2 jump drive, civilian grade C. For fuel, the Triage has 63 SU of hydrogen fuel and 4.35 SU of quantum fuel, which is quite a large amount. The Medevac also has 63 SU of hydrogen fuel and slightly more quantum fuel at 4.5 SU. The Hermes has 70 SU of hydrogen fuel and 4.65 SU of quantum fuel, so it's got more than both Apollo ships. For weaponry, there are 2 size 4 gimbaled Rhino laser repeaters that are controllable by the pilot. These fire quickly and are great against fighters, but you may want cannons or ballistics against tougher targets. There is also a remote turret on top of the ship that can be controlled by the co-pilot or by the pilot. When the co-pilot is not available, then the pilot can fire the guns from the pilot seat just like regular gimbaled guns. The Triage and Medevac have dual size 3 guns on the turret, with laser cannons on the Triage and ballistic Gatlings on the Medevac. The Hermes has larger dual size 4 guns with laser repeaters. The turret has a full 360-degree view of the top of the ships and are decent at taking out lighter ships, but keep in mind there is no lower turret, so the bottom of the ships will be vulnerable to attack. All the variants have bespoke missile launchers with infrared missiles. There's 4 size 2 missiles on the Triage, 8 size 2 missiles on the Medevac, and 16 size 2 missiles on the Hermes. The missile launchers face upwards at 45 degrees by default, similar to the size 2 launchers on the Constellation ships, so you cannot dumbfire them easily at targets, especially ground targets unless you flip the ship upside down. It's best to let the missiles lock onto a target first, but currently infrared missiles are shorter range than other types of missiles and can be spoofed, so you may want to consider EM missiles or cross-section ones, unless you expect to be in close combat a lot. The missiles are decent at damaging fighters and smaller ships, but will struggle to do much damage against larger targets, and you have to get a good lock on first. In appearance, all 3 variants are similar and have the newer RSI design pattern. They have 2 large engine nacelles in the back, sort of like a larger RSI Mantis, but less nacelles than the Constellation series. They have various aerodynamic antennas or winglets that pop out on the sides when the landing gear is up. The variants have the typical angled, rounded front section. The Apollo series are sleeker and have skylights on the roof, while the Hermes has a more armored and industrial design. If this is indicative of the future RSI Galaxy design style, then I'm pretty excited for it. The Apollo Triage runs for $260 on the website in time-limited sales, or 7.5 million UAC in-game in Levski in the Nix system. The Medevac runs for $290 in time-limited sales on the website, or 8.3 million UAC in-game, also at Levski. Currently, the Apollo series come with all combinations of medbeds, but you may have to buy them individually in the future. The Hermes is newer, but cheaper at $220 on the website, and it is not available to buy in-game in the current patch. Hopefully it'll be buyable in-game in patch 4.7, probably at Levski. The Apollo Triage has a red medical paint style, while the Apollo Medevac has a white paint with red lettering. The Hermes has a blue paint with some yellow highlights, similar to the Zeus CL. You can buy paints for the Apollo series and the Hermes, but the Apollo paints are not compatible with the Hermes and vice versa, so that feels like a cop-out in my opinion. Anyway, for the Apollo paints you can buy, there is the Delphi paint that is black with gold highlights, the Lifeline paint that is teal, white, and red, the Shockwave paint that is blue and orange, and the Olympian paint that is silver and blue, only for concierge members. There are also some event-specific paints for the Apollo ships, such as the Alliance Aid red and gold paint, and the Alliance Aid red paint. For the Hermes, there is the white, purple, and gold Paragon paint, the green and bronze Honor Bound paint, only for limited time war bond sales, the blue and red Disco paint, which is my favorite, the black and yellow Lockdown paint, and finally the black and silver Tripline paint, only for concierge members. The Apollo series and Hermes ships are great ships for the purposes they were designed for. They have excellent cockpit visibility and fly decently well as far as larger ships go. The Apollo Triage and Medevac variants can be used for either lesser healing of large amounts of players at once, or more in-depth healing of smaller numbers of players. You can either place the ships on site where there are entries, or use them as space ambulances to carry troops to other medical centers. The Medevac variant can take advantage of its higher armor, slightly higher speed, and extra missiles to hang out in more dangerous spots to help the injured that the Triage variant couldn't. For example, the Medevac would be useful in combat locations during or after space battles, or it would be great to use at ground locations. It's great when exploring potentially dangerous ground sites or derelicts in space, or going bounty hunting with a fleet, or in large fleet or ground battles. You can support the players and fleets by being their instant medical ship. They can drop players off when combat is going on. Big convoys in space can also take advantage of having an Apollo ship along in case someone is injured, so that other ships don't have to return to a station. Just keep the Apollos deep inside the fleet while traveling long distances so they don't get damaged by hostiles. Also make sure the patient can fly to the ship in EVA, since there are no working docking ports yet, but hopefully that's fixed in the future. The Apollo ships can also be used for smaller cargo missions that only need 1 or 2 SU containers. They are not very efficient for cargo running, but 32 SU of cargo is still pretty decent. You could also carry troops in the Apollo by having them sit in the med beds, or buying chairs and putting them in the cargo rooms. The Hermes variant is a great all-around ship. It's of course very good for cargo, as it can carry more cargo than Constellation series ships, the Argo Raft, Anvil Asgard, the Misk Starlancer Max, Drake Corsair, or Mercury Starrunner, while still having a decent speed. The larger cargo door than the Apollo ships means you can carry even the largest cargo containers, plus the tractor beam makes moving cargo easy. Aside from regular cargo running, you could also do some basic blockade running, assuming you have someone to help against fighters. Maybe store a Fury in the cargo bay just in case. You could try smuggling cargo if you use all stealth components, although this ship will never be super stealthy due to its size and emissions. You could use the Hermes to help load and offload mining or saddlebags from mining ships using the tractor beam. There's plenty of cargo space to carry spare saddlebags and space to haul back the full ones. This would allow fleets of miners to keep on mining without stopping. You can use the Hermes for vehicle transport for various functions. You can do ground mining with a ton of Grey Cat rocks or ATLS geos. You can explore ground locations with the Tumbril Cyclone, the Cyclone RN, or hover bikes. You can transfer smaller cargo from ground locations using the Argo CSV SM ground vehicle. The Tumbril Cyclone AA, MT, and TR can help with ground defense if you carry them. You could also use the Hermes as a mini carrier, able to carry up to 9 Mirai Furies in the cargo hold, so you could swarm non-suspecting targets with stump fighters. The Hermes is also great for racing vehicles by carrying lots of hover bikes or the Tumbril Cyclone RC variant, plus all the gear and repair equipment they may need. Future base building will be something else you can do if you carry the future Argo CSV base building vehicle, and you will be able to hold all the cargo for base building you need. All the cargo spots also allow you to put a huge amount of passenger seats for emergency or low-cost shuttle services. Or you could outfit the large cargo bay as a fancy lounge with sofas, chairs, tables, fish tanks, and other decorations. There are drawbacks for these ships though. The Apollo and Hermes ships are not optimal for combat. Sure, you have the 2 front guns and the upper turret plus missiles, but the ships cannot turn very quickly. The Hermes has a little more armor and larger upper turret than the Apollo series, but it's still not amazing in combat. They are also not very fast or maneuverable compared to smaller ships, so enemy fighters and bombers can easily get behind or below the ships, where they are vulnerable. There is no lower turret to cover the bottom of the ships, so it's easy for ships to damage them there. The Apollo series in particular don't have space or doorways for decent-sized ground vehicles or larger cargo containers, so they can't be limited. There are also no living quarters for nurses or doctors on the Apollo ships, only for the pilot and co-pilot. So the Apollo ships are not great for long-range medical services if patients need round-the-clock care, unless you stash the doctors in the cargo rooms. The Hermes also has an issue with the small cargo door, although it is better than their Apollo doors. You can't load larger ground vehicles like the MTC or MDC or Ursa vehicles, let alone tanks or larger snub ships. For such a large cargo bay, it seems a waste to limit the door size. You can theoretically still load some of those larger vehicles if you take off their wheels, but that would only be useful for the Ursa Medical that can still provide medical services inside the cargo bay, or maybe the MDC if you use the tractor beam to carry it outside when you need it. At least the MDC can function as an extra automated turret, and you could probably carry a few of them. Other large ground vehicles are not very useful without wheels. The size 2 shields are also not extremely strong, and with CIG only limiting ships to 2 shields at a time, we can't take advantage of the full 4 shields at once. Make sure to upgrade your shields as soon as you can to make up for that. It would be useful for CIG to give us working docking ports so the Apollo and Hermes ships can directly dock with other ships and stations in space, without patients or cargo needing to be taken over in EVA. Finally, you can't share paints between the Apollo and Hermes series, and some of the paints would look great on each other. In summary, these are all great ships within limits. They look great, they have the RSI styling, and are optimized for current engineering, medical, and cargo gameplay. The cockpits don't have the problems that older RSI ships had, and the living quarters are comfortable. You can use the ships for various purposes, so the money is pretty well spent on them. There are a few limitations in the ships, but they are still well worth it if you know the drawbacks before buying them. Alright, so that's it for the RSI Apollo and Hermes review. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. You can use my referral code if you decide to jump into Star Citizen, and you'll get 5,000 extra in-game credits. And you save more if you get one of the starter packs on sale. Here's a big thank you to my current patrons: Alanna, Brandon, Vash Wildheart, and ASOG88. Please check out my Patreon membership to help me make more videos. All patrons and members will have their names listed at the end of my videos, and they get access to my Discord channel. Patrons can join my Discord and request particular videos for me to make, so feel free to sign up and let me know what you'd like to see next. Okay, catch you next time.